Hi, in this chapter we are going to go through how you would write object-oriented code, Perl code in core Perl. So in the previous chapter we saw how you can use moves and how you write modern object-oriented code in Perl. In this chapter we'll see mostly the same code implemented, mostly the same features implemented in core Perl. So without any extra use of any object-oriented system from CPAN. We do use some modules from there when necessary, but we are not using any of the object-oriented systems. So let's go to the constructor, and this is the constructor in core Perl. Let's go back to the moves example. Basically, we wanted this script to work, so loading the module and then calling the constructor. This was the implementation in moves. In the implementation in core Perl looks like this. So package is the same, and then we put use strict and use warnings, something we left out from moves because moves was automatically using them. And then at the one and semicolon at the end because we are having a module. We have to implement our own constructor, and new is not a fixed keyword in Perl. You can have your constructor with any name, but it's very customary to use the new word because that's most of the people what use and people you're used to and so on. So we are calling our constructor new. We are declaring a subroutine. The way Perl works is that when you call the constructor, so when you call this, when you have a name here and a row and new, then what Perl does, it arranges that this word, whatever it is, even if it's a package with double colons in the middle, that word as a string will be passed as the first argument to new. So even if new were getting more parameters, person will be the first argument. It will be unshifted, the array of the parameters. So the first parameter in the @_ is going to be the name of the class, basically. You might think that you can use the same name as written here, but that will break when you want to implement inheritance, so we don't do that. We fetch the first element of this array, put it into the $class variable, and then we create a reference to a hash. An object in Perl, and that's true for moves as well, an object in Perl is basically a reference to a hash. Not just a simple reference, a blessed reference. So we create a reference first, self, and then we call the bless function with 2 parameters, and some people do it with 1 parameter, which is not good. It works, but again that breaks inheritance. So we call it with 2 parameters. The first one is the reference, that is going to be the object itself, the object. And the second parameter is the class, the name of the class that we received in the constructor. This will mark this reference, the self-reference that we just created in Perl, that Perl will know that now this reference is not just a simple reference to a hash, but that somehow belongs to, related to this class. So later on, when we are trying to call methods on that object, it will know where to look for the methods. That's the whole thing. So bless is basically putting a small mark on this hash reference. And then we call return, and then we return the object itself. So that's what you need to implement in order to have a constructor in Perl, and that would be able to do this. And if we go to the next slide in the moves chapter, then this is the test that we used, and we use the same test here, and this code passes that test. So this is the first part, and how you create a constructor in core Perl.